Good evening, good evening. We are back live on another Sunday evening. Appreciate y'all for stopping in. Appreciate y'all for stopping in to chat with me on another glorious Sunday. And I do appreciate y'all. Does not go unnoticed. So we're gonna wait a little bit and see if we get some people in the room. I did set it up for 6 o'clock. I'm trying to see why my volume keeps on. Try to get rid of that. Hold on one second. All right, give me 1 second. Technical difficulty. So the orientation was locked. All right, so we are back for another edition of G's One of One. Hey, Jen, how you doing? I slated myself to get on at 6, but ended up getting on at 6:30. So I mean, generally y'all know I'm on at 7:30. I got a game at 8 o'clock, so I had to go a little bit earlier tonight. So some people might appreciate that. Those that are kind of looking forward to be a little bit earlier, that are kind of like early birds. So we're gonna just give it a couple minutes, have a couple people can sign into the chat, and we'll get right into it. Tonight we're gonna do the let's discuss it all. Let's discuss it all from Maine to Spain. Maine to Spain. So we'll get started in about 45 seconds. Just give a few people a couple minutes to see that we on and chime in. Because most of y'all like to pop in here at probably like 10 minutes before I'm about to come off. So that's why I said I want to go ahead and give people, a couple minutes. Hopefully everybody is doing well on this March 1st. I think that new months, a new month is always an opportunity to set up some new goals. So, hey, Sweatpants. You know what? I actually just saw your live. So congrats on that pound. So congrats. Another pound down. That's always a win. You know what I mean? You can get another pound off. So that's a big deal. So don't take that lightly. Getting that pound off is a big deal. Trust me. Because especially if you've been in a stall, because I've been there too, where I had like 3 weeks where I was the same weight, and then, I watched the replay, I should say, and then I ended up losing weight. So, and I'm gonna tell you about my wife too. She did really good this week. All right, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. Since it is now 6:35, I am a little bit earlier than usual. So hopefully some of those that usually catch me at 7:30, 8 o'clock would have seen the schedule and hopped in so they could talk to us tonight. So, but I wanted to. I decided to call this video "Let's Discuss It All" because while we're always going to talk about GLP-1 because it is naturally a part of what our lives, right? We're all on this weight loss, lifestyle. I like not the journey usually has a destination, right? Weight loss lifestyle does not, right? Because it's something that we're going to do all the time, nonstop, right? So that's why I said let's discuss it all, because the first thing I want to address is the current event. And the current event is the war that the administration has decided to, start in, Iran. Now, naturally, this goes back, almost 50 years, to the 70s. And the Ayatollah that they actually killed, his tenure kind of dates back to then. I think that everything with this particular administration is generally usually personally targeted and not necessarily, something that, is really, in care for the mass public. Now, obviously, that particular regime is very evil, and a lot of times, the Middle Eastern regimes tend to lean that way due to beliefs, right? But this particular Ayatollah had it out for the man that runs this administration, right? Donald Trump. So at least they say the reason why Trump was steadfast and very quick with taking this particular guy out is because he had certain people, lined up to try to take him out. So I think it was very personal, more so than I don't think nobody's buying. He wanted, they were concerned about the freedom of the people of the Iranians. I just don't buy it. You know what I mean? I don't think they cared enough. I think Trump and his administration is very greedy, and they're out there looking to see where they could come up. You know what I mean? There's probably more oil involved, believe it or not. There's something, because Donald Trump only sees green. You know what I mean? There's no red. There's no love. You know what I mean? It's just all about the green. And I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden, there's some sort of oil. Obviously we know they had nuclear weapons and they want to stomp that out, but so does China. You know what I mean? Why we not going? Why we not this aggressive towards North Korea, right? You know what I mean? It's very targeted. You know what I mean? It's very, very targeted. I think, and I think that it'll all come to light soon. For anything except our access to universal health care. Yeah, you might be right. You might be right. Like I always say, I really feel like, there's always ulterior motive. Let me turn this down. There's always an ulterior motive, you know what I mean, for him that's not talked about. You know what I mean? And it's been to this point, money, money motivated, even with the cartel in Venezuela, you know what I mean? The cartel leader that was killed in Mexico. These guys aren't to be trusted. You know what I mean? They just aren't. You know what I mean? They are literally out for, something that, we're not being told, But that's the current event. I wanted to start with that because there's two sides to war, you know what I mean? The tragedy that we see up front and the tragedy that we don't see coming, right? And as Americans, we have to be, very vigilant because obviously, you have a lot of kamikaze soldiers where, they might not have all of the capabilities of the United States, but what they do have is people that's not afraid to give their lives, right? They're not afraid to give their lives. I feel like U.S. troops give their lives by default because they go into battle knowing that it could happen. You have, people that are from the Middle East that actually, come and give their bodies, as a sign of honor. So when you got that, that's hard to fight. People strapping bombs to themselves and blowing things up. You know what I mean? So like I said, I decided to start the live tonight with this because it's very important. We here in America are talking about, healthcare prices, and losing weight, which is very important. But, when you start talking about life or death, I think that needs to be addressed. Even though, health for some of us, including myself, as if you saw my last live, it was about life or sunset. I named it the title "Life or Sunset" versus "Life or Death" because I think that YouTube was having a problem with the title, and I didn't want them to tamper, the views. So that's why I went ahead and did the life or sunset, right? Because we know it's sunrise and sunset on most obituaries, so that's why you got the life or sunset. If you didn't check out the last live that I did, you know what I mean, go ahead and please give it a like, share, and hype. All right. So there's that. I'm not gonna spend too much time on that, but I did feel like I wanted to address that because that's very important, and that's what's happening right now. You got people, probably turning a blind eye to it, but understand everything that you see on that television that's affecting others at some point is going to affect us, even if it's on a smaller level. You know what I mean? Because you're talking about fighting the ideology, right? These people have a certain ideology that you can't control. And I know this administration feels like they can control, life. Hey, happy Sunday, Darian. What's going on, man? Appreciate you stopping in and hollering at me on this Sunday. So I'm a little earlier than usual. So for some people, I feel like that actually works. You know what I mean? Because some people actually probably turn in a little bit sooner. So this might be, a good thing for some. I have a game to watch at 8 o'clock. So I felt like, I would go a little bit sooner because I like to keep my word and jump on here and talk to the people. But just being completely honest, that's why I'm a little earlier tonight is because I have a game to watch at 8 o'clock. So I wanted to jump on and get and do what I think is important, and that's to keep showing up for my obesity warriors, right? So there's that. We covered the war. I pitched for Kim Jong Un to become CEO of Eli Lilly. Battle these prices. What's going to take? Simply trying to get healthy without going bankrupt. Traveling. Hey, listen. If that is hey, it's like whatever works, right? I know you're joking, but I mean, hey, like you at this point, it seems like we need to do something. But no, I think prices are going to come down. Um, you know, uh, Prices are going to come down here shortly because you have a lot of things in the news. This could be more U.S. casualties. There was a breaking news on the MacBook, so I was just looking at it. But that's more about Iran. But yeah, I think prices are going to start to come down. They actually, I mean, they did release the Quick Pen, which which I think a lot of you guys do know about. Them releasing that the Quick Pen, but that doesn't really, like I said, do much for pricing. That just literally like just gives you a more convenient way to store medication. You know what I mean? Because it's one pen versus four. You know what I mean? So I do understand. Finally, allowing us or gracing us with that here in America, but that's been a thing, internationally for quite some time. So but there's that. So that was that about the whole, war. I just wanted to like address it because, like I said, even though it doesn't impact us tonight, it can impact us later in ways that you don't know. You know what I mean? Because these people are always in foreign countries, always planning and conspiring, to, take care of, us, rich Americans, as they call it, in different ways. And us, they vowed to stab us in the heart, So what does that look like? We got to wait and see. We got to wait and see. So it has been a long, long, long year of this first year of the administration, and I think it's going to be another long 3 years, right? So barring anything happens, right? So there's that. All right. So as far as GLP-1 is concerned, like I told most people, this is March 1st, and I had a goal of losing 4 pounds. That's still my goal. Actually, I want to lose 5. You know what I mean? To be comfortably out of the 20s. Because I'm 224, you know what I mean? I was 223 last week, so 0.7. Now I'm like 224, so I'm actually up like 0.4 of a pound or whatever, right into 224. So it says muscle, but I mean I don't know. I mean at least that's what it says. It says that it was muscle. So I'm 224.6. So I'm actually up a pound, but it said that it was muscle. So at least on my smart scale, it says that I gained 0.9% of muscle. So I don't know. I don't know. We'll leave that. Let it be. But my goal now at March 1st is tomorrow. My goal is to really start getting in, my walking like I was before outdoors, because we're gonna have a nicer week. It won't be as nice tomorrow, but during the end of the week it'll be really nice. But I'm still gonna start tomorrow because it's March 2nd, and I wanted to start right at the beginning of the month. And I think that's gonna help me because ever since my surgery, I haven't really been able to get a lot of steps in outside of being at work. So I definitely want to actually get back to, that, because that always, helped to drop the pounds. Because like I told most, if I hit 219, that's 100 pounds down, and that takes me out of obesity, right? Because right now I'm actually at 29% body fat, and my BMI is at 30.3, probably at 30.5 now that I actually probably went up a pound, you know what I mean? But me knowing that was mainly muscle, at least that's what the scale said, that's okay. I've been on a plateau for 2 months, increased 7.5, not much change. 5 months worked really well for me. Traveling Techie says that he's been on a plateau. I mean, the thing is, you have to, I say you got to give it like at least a full month, before you actually say it's a plateau, because your body goes through a lot of changes. It loses a lot of inches, but really just pay attention to your clothing. You know what I mean? Because really, if you up in a dangerous way, it would be your clothing might actually get a little bit tighter, right? So if your clothing's not tight, not getting tighter, and you still, are comfortably fitting into things. So for me, right, my clothing got even looser. You know what I mean? My clothing got even looser. Like my pants, I've been, all this week, I've been saying to myself, I need new pants, because my 36s that I'm wearing, to work are a bit loose. So I might be able to get into a 34, even though the scale hasn't moved. I think I actually probably still lost a few more inches. And that's being on a 12.5 for a month and a half now. So I think a month and maybe, is it a month and a half? Yeah, I think it's a month and a half now that I've been on the 12.5. Yeah, I took two pens. So we do have, so let me recap February. So for if in a month of February, I actually lost, I want to say 4 pounds. I think it's 4 pounds, because I think I was teetering around like 228, right? And then I dropped to 223. I think that was my last weight last week. So I think I dropped about 4 pounds since since moving up to that 12 and a half. I lost this fat. I was thinking of increasing RX to split those, save money. Well, traveling techie, I think you probably should, if you just moved to 7.5, give it time, let it work. You know what I mean? I wouldn't suggest you do anything right now other than, you know what I mean, do your lifestyle interventions, like, you know, your resistance training and kind of like walking or whatever, you know, walking, whatever it is that you do. And, you know, make sure that you have a proper diet, and then see what happens over the next month, you know, before you decide to do anything, right? Because the titration thing is like crazy right now, you know, with some going up, some going down, some staying put, you know, and then everybody's like in an uproar, you know, debating back and forth. You know, the thing is, you got to do what works for you, right? But just study, you know, see what it is that your body shows you, and then go with that. You know what I mean? Just whatever that looks like for you. I'm just happy that you're on the medication. As far as I'm concerned, you know, I'll tell anybody the whole point of these treatments is so that way things will be, you know, less tough for you, right? So, you know, they studied this safely all the way up to the 15 milligram, right? So as long as you're within those parameters and not doing anything harmful, I think you're fine. Wherever that falls for you, that makes you comfortable, where you can actually survive the week and not, you know, feel like you're going crazy with food noise, you know, I think that's where you should go, right? Just do that, you know, whatever that is for you, you know, because we don't want to, you know, make it a big thing about where people are with their dosing, right? Be where it is that makes you comfortable. Me personally, I say titrate up, you know, to make it easier on you when it comes to the food noise, right? You can't run, you know, and you can't increase forever, but at least go where what we've deemed to be safe and see how that does for you. You can always go back down. You can always go back down. That'll never be an issue. This is why I'm saying don't be afraid to titrate up, because you don't know what you're missing if you never do it, right? You've already tried to dose you on, I would think, at least for a few months, right? Because at this point, we don't move up every month. We give it a few months, right? So now move up, see what it's like. If you don't like it, then go back down. But don't like beat yourself up and like struggle, you know what I mean? To do, like, you know what I mean? So that's all I'll be saying. But I'm not gonna go too far into the whole, you know, titration thing. Do what it is that you feel like is best for you. But I'm telling you that all the way up to 15 milligrams is safe, you know, to do, right? It's safe to do. You know, I'm not a physician. I'm not your physician, but I'm just giving you what it is that I've learned through my own experience, right? I didn't go to 12.5 for weight loss. I went to 12.5 for food noise. And I always stand on that because that's what people are, you know, complaining about. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you do get to that dose that just kills it. You know, it's not like the first dose. The first dose is because your body was kind of getting used to the treatment, right? That's different. Your receptors do conform, you know what I mean, to what it is that you're doing. So you might have to titrate up till you get to a comfortable enough dose that you're not struggling, right? Because if you get on the drug, on a treatment, and you're struggling, I don't understand the point. The whole point of it is not to struggle so badly. Yes, have your habits in check, right? I think I had less food noise once, 5 milligrams. So that's the thing. Like, I don't think you've had 7.5 long enough to make the decision. That's what I'm saying to you. Allow it to work, you know, because a lot of times I think we forget you need a full box, not a pen, to even give any type of indication of what it is most of the time. Maybe some people can give it off for taking one pen, one shot, but I think you need to do the four pens and give that a week, right? So go about 5 or 6 weeks before you can determine how it's working. I did the same thing with the 12 and a half. I just gave my opinion last week on that because I felt like now I could probably give an opinion. And I did. I lost more weight. And I actually was able to start going to the bathroom again without even taking, you know, the much of a fiber regimen as previous. On the 12.5. And I heard it before. It's like, you get the 12.5, you can actually use the bathroom again. And I actually have. I actually been able to use the bathroom comfortably with it. You know, I do take my mag still maybe once or twice a week. But for the most part, you know, for magnesium, the Mag 07, but for the most part, I'm able to go to the bathroom a lot easier than I was on the 10. You know what I mean? Even at 7.5. You know what I mean? I probably had the most constipation on 7.5. 7.5 was the most constipation I had out of all of them. And I was on that the absolute longest. You know, so I like to say I lost the most weight on that, but not real. I mean, I just was on that the longest. That's probably why. Not necessarily meaning that dose made me lose the most weight, because I was on the 7.5 and the 10 for about an equal amount of time. Both of them for probably about 5 months apiece. 5 months on the 7.5, 5 months on the 10. and just a month on the 2.5 and the 5, right? Because I don't feel like those aren't therapeutic doses, and in my opinion, and based on studies, the first therapeutic dose is usually 7.5, right? And a lot of people like to get there and stay there, and that's fine if you can stay there. I'm just saying it might be easier for you if you titrate it up. You know what I mean? And you could go back down if it doesn't work for you. That's all. But I'm loving the 12 and a half. I think it's the right dose for me. You know what I mean? That's where I was trying to get to. If I gotta go to the 15, I will. But I don't. At least right now, I don't feel like I need to. I think 12 and a half is good for me. And I think that as far as my weight is concerned, me getting off, another, 15, 15, 25 pounds, would be, through, my actual, movement, because I'm, like I said, with the weather going back to nice and daylight saving times coming back, I can actually, get back to outside, my walking, and, working out a little bit more. So, and that's going to actually, I really feel like going to go ahead and drop the, what I got left to drop off. You know what I mean? I think I'll be fine. So, there's that, because technically I only have like 24 pounds that I would want to lose maximum, you know what I mean? And that would put me at 199 pounds, or 25, if you think about my weigh-in today. I'll be at 199 pounds. My BMI will be at 27, and I'll be absolutely satisfied, because that puts me in a realm of, from being an obese person, like I said, clinically obese people that had a BMI of 40 or above, you know what I mean? And who have been in a larger body for a long time, your ideal is, based on at least an obesity surgeon, not me, your ideal is between 27 and 32. It's not. So I'll say, just to go with the safest number, is a 27. It's not a 20, what is it, a 24, like a lot of people are shooting for. A lot of people want to be a 23 or 24 BMI, when in fact we should be talking about body fat percentage. My body fat percentage is at a 29, which I'd like to someday get it at least to a 24. Now that I would like to have at a 24. You know what I mean? Not necessarily, and some people say a 20, you know what I mean? But I know what it'll take to maintain being at, 16, 17, 18, 20%. It takes a lot of working out. And you got to realize that what you're doing now, you got to do for the rest of your life, right? Whatever you're doing today, you got to ask yourself, can I do it for the absolute rest of my life on a regular basis, right? I know for me to get to 15, 16, 17, 18% body fat, it would be grueling workouts, and I can't do it because of my osteoarthritis. So I want to be healthy, not supremely athletic. You know what I mean? I'm not looking for that. I'm just looking to be healthy and have a nice general average physique, right? Average. I don't need to be, super muscular, because you got to maintain that, and I'm not about maintaining that kind of thing. I want to maintain health and average, not that supreme, look. And like I said, my loss to this point has been 30%. I lost 30% of my weight since I started last January, right? I'm on week 60. This is my week 60. I just started my week 60, so that is, in itself, an accomplishment to be 30% body, my 30% weight loss, in that total weight loss in that time, right? My body fat percentage, because that's what I like to talk about too. I've lost, I want to say about 11%, which is also huge. That's a lot of body fat, you know what I mean, that I got rid of, in that 96 pounds, right? 4 pounds. Well, technically with that pound, like I said, I went up 90, what's that, 5 pounds. So yeah, appreciate that, Darren. Appreciate that. You know what I mean? Like I said, 30% is bariatric surgery. 30% is bariatric surgery range. You know what I mean? Like that's what that promises. So I think ultimately, lo and behold, my end all be all might be to get another 5% off. You know what I mean? So if I hit 199, I'll be there. You know what I mean? I think what's that, 20, 21, 25. Yeah, if I lose that 25 pounds, that will put me at like 38%, something like that. So like that's the ultimate, end all be all. But again, if I don't get there, if I'm sitting at, like I said, I don't know, 210, 215, I'm still happy, because I'm still out of obesity, right? I'm only 5 pounds from being out of obesity. And that's why we obesity warriors strive to get out of obesity, because that's where, I feel like health lies. It's okay to be a little overweight. That's not, because being overweight isn't what the issue is. The issue is the health the health markers that actually get disrupted from being obese, right? And have and majorly overweight and obese, right? So that's why I keep using that number 27, because if you get your BMI at least to that, you should be okay as long as your waist circumference goes with it, right? So I started this talking about my pants. I said my pants that I wear at work, I feel like are even looser now, because even when I pull the belt really, really tight, they're still like, you know what I mean, kind of like wiggling down, you know what I mean? Now that could be because I got that no ass at all. No ass at all, right? Is that what they call it? You know what I mean? So that could be a thing too, you know what I mean? So they like, I call it no ass at all, not Ozempic, but I don't even like using that, you know what I mean? But no ass at all, because I do got that too. So that's playing a part. But my stomach has also, came down amazingly, because while I can't see abs, I can actually see where right below the rib cage you get the two little indents a little bit. So I can see my sides have went in. So when I'm actually completely naked, I can see like the sides where up top where it kind of went in. So I know I've lost a good deal of visceral fat, and my visceral fat has actually decreased a lot as well in the my Bluetooth scale, my smart scale. So that's also like a really, really good sign, because that's really the dangerous fat, that visceral fat. You know what I mean? Like that's what you don't want to be dealing with, because that's dangerous. You know what I mean? So when you see those folks with the big bubble gut, that big old gut, and they're very thin, that's dangerous. That's called dangerous. That's visceral fat. So you definitely don't want that, right? So I feel like I'm going in the right direction, right? Being 30% down, like 224 pounds, and 6 foot tall, and wearing a 36, but possibly could wear a 34, is absolutely amazing. And I'm thankful for it. And I'm headed, I don't know, if I lose 25 pounds, I might be in the 32. I might end up in a 32. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy to me. Yeah, I actually would if I lose that weight, because I would lose body fat too. So, and then with the way I'm going to lose it with this, movement, and gaining muscle, that definitely is going to drop that off of me. So, yep. My wife, I'll give you guys a quick update on her. She did really well. She had an amazing, tremendous week. Most of you guys know she did go up to the 10 2 weeks ago. She's on the 10. She's on the 10 for this her second week on the 10. And she actually dropped 4 pounds. She dropped 4 pounds over this past week, right? And she just literally, you know what I mean, is using her, the walking pad. So that's been good for her, you know what I mean? But that 10 is helping out, And the reason why I suggested that with her, obviously, was food noise, because, like she said, she was a bit hungry on a 7.5 in that food noise, because she was a heavy, she'll tell you, a sweets person. So she's a real, like snacker. So that food noise shut up too, man. That 10 shut it right on up, and she did amazing because she lost 4 pounds. So, hey, look, I ain't claiming to be, nothing, but I'm just telling you what the numbers show. You know what I mean? She dropped that 4 pounds the second week on the 10, and she dropped 4 pounds already, and she ain't missing no meals. Appreciate it, Darren. She ain't missing no meals. I mean, most of y'all seen. I put a short up. She got that. The same thing I had, that big old 20-ounce ribeye. So she getting plenty of protein. And she doing that walking pad, but she is 163 pounds today. 163 pounds. She started at 197, so that means that she's down 34 pounds. She's down 17 and a half. I think 17.3%. I like to say percents because this puts it into more realistic realm for people for comparison when you talk about men and women, right? Men and women. So that would be 17%. And I if I'm not mistaken, I think she might be on like week 26. I'll correct it later if I'm wrong, but somewhere around there, like week 25, week 26, something like that. Yeah, because I think she started, I guess March 5th will be her actual 6 month. I think March 5th. March 5th will make exactly 6 months, So I think she started week 25. Week 25, like I said, she's down 17%, and she's at 163 pounds. She started at 197. Now she's 163. So she has a goal to get to about 140, right? She said 135 maybe. Now she's 5 foot tall, 5 foot even. So I think her her first goal is to get out of the 160. So she's just another 3 or 4 pounds from that. So I think that'll happen, right? Yeah, she's well on her way, man. I mean, in 6 months, be down 17%. Is amazing. You know what I mean? So as far as that, because I know RMZ was curious about that. She been good, man. Like the only thing I mean, she probably maybe slept a little bit more, but she said that it actually just quiet all the food noise. You know what I mean? She drinking tons of water. And she feel good. It really ain't bother. I mean, she a trooper, man. I mean, it really ain't bothering her too much. You know, she's actually doing really well on the 10. You know, believe it or not. When I first started, I had that because I have that regular heartbeat. It increased a little bit. I mean, and now I think about it, I'm on 12.5. So you do get past it. That was my other thing. I was telling people, like, when you titrate up, you do get past. You do get past whatever that side effect is. Like, you know what I mean? So she has not had any. You know what I mean? So she is, like I said, doing really good. Like and again, everybody's why is a little bit different, right? You know, my why was because of, you know, like I said, my heart attack risk, you know, irregular heartbeat, and then, you know, the few markers that I had that weren't, you know, good, that are all good now. Hers is, you know, her markers are very good. I mean, only thing she has and she still fights is the cholesterol. Her cholesterol is a little high, but that'll work itself out, I believe, with her working out. You know what I mean? But she has good reason to be on 10. I mean, she was pre-diabetic, and she isn't that. She no longer is, because I did go over her when we did the couples live. I did go over all her chart, you know, and her actual A1C was better than mine. You know, my A1C was, I think it was 5.3 or 5.2, and hers was like a 5.1. You know what I'm saying? Mine was like 5.2 or 5.3 something. Hers was 5.1. So, and mind you, she was pre-diabetic before she started, right? She was pre-diabetic, and now she's like a 5.1. But, you know, like I said, the 10 is doing wonders. She loving the 10, loving the 10. Like I said, it shut that food noise right up, and she lost 4 pounds within a week and a half of being on that 10. So, and it's moving. So, and I think she's going to get to her goal. She's going to get to her goal and be able to stay there. And the thing I like about it is she's comfortable on it, so I feel like it's something she could just stay on, you know? Gotta love the health marker. You know, people out of pre-diabetes range. Yeah, definitely. I've been battling for the prioritization of those. Travel Techie, going off about that pricing, boy. Hey, listen. Again, like I said, I told her because she was talking about the food noise is a mofo. Yeah, it is, and I noticed that with her. Like on the 7.5, it had kicked up because she was on that for the longest. Like September, she was on 2.5. October, she was on 5, and then for the end of October, November, December, and January, she was on 7.5. And right up around the end, her food noise really, I mean, kicked up, and she, you know, was fighting that snacking. You know what I mean? So doing her best, you know, but she was like finding herself being hungry. You know, still, I mean, she lost weight, you know, but again, we're not going to struggle to do it when I got the tool. So, you know, my encouragement was to hit the 10. You know what I mean? She's on it, and that's where I feel like she can stay. So she'll be on this. She'll be on that. You know, I think, you know what I mean? Now, she's only 6 months in going forward because she only, you know, technically would have a maximum of 30 pounds to lose. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think she would lose any more weight than that. You know what I mean? And again, that's the maximum because technically, I think she'll be fine. Really, if she loses another 20 pounds, she'll be fine. I think that's as far as she wants to go. You know, she loses 20 and she lost 34 already. So she loses another 20. What's she going to do, you know, I think before the summer? I think by this summer, she'll be down exactly where she want to be. Right? Under a year. You know what I mean? Under a year. She's going to get there, you know, on that 10. So, and with her doing the walking and the working out, it'll be really good for her. We do have our event coming up on April 12th, so we really kind of being steadfastly working on that. April 12th is when it's Sunday, April 12th, and that's been doing really well. You know, she's been going to different events, promoting and stuff like that. So we got all of our vendors set, and now we just kind of working through the guests and our speakers. You know, because for those that don't know, we having a networking event business where we give events for people that are do all kinds of corporate life. You know, we got people that's you know, from anywhere from the stock exchange all the way to realtors, right? Is that possible using telehealth as a PA? Travel Techie do not stop when it comes to that insurance. He just going off. But yeah, so we got people, all types of people walks of life, from all walks of life, and what we do is we actually bring everybody together. We have like a buffet. You know, we have a cash bar, we have a DJ, we have entertainment, and it's a really good time. But we started out with the businesses kind of like coming up and speaking about their business and, you know, letting people know, you know, what it is that they do. And then we also have them as speakers. So they actually, you know, they come up, they speak about it, and then they vend, you know, and they vend. They speak about their business and then they vend. So the vending portion of it is where they actually vend their product or talk about their services, right? And then what we do as host or MC is kind of introduce and connect, you know what I mean, people to one another, right? So we are kind of like the connectors, you know what I mean? So you'll see me promoting that on my Instagram. And my Facebook. So those that don't follow me, you know, shoot over to my Instagram. You can pretty much hear more about that over there. So yeah, like I said, it's been an amazing week, you know, for us. We both, you know, like I said, or amazing February, I should say, because we both actually lost a good deal of weight, you know, like I said. And I didn't recap her whole month, but if I'm not mistaken, I think she was at like 170 when the month started. So she might have lost about 8 pounds. You know, she might have lost about 8 pounds for the whole month of February, I think. Because that 4 pounds was a big one. That was a big loss. You know what I mean? In 1 week. You know, I used to have those kind of numbers. So I told her, I said, capitalize right now. Take advantage. You know what I mean? Jump, get going. You know what I mean? So you can get down as low as you want to right now. You know what I mean? So that way, you know, you can just kind of like work through maintenance, you know. And what maintenance is, because she did ask me, she said, well, what does maintenance look like for you? So maintenance looks like for me is, but what maintenance looks like for me is simply taking my shot every week, every 7 days, you know what I'm saying? And doing the things that got me here, you know what I mean? I do some intermittent fasting. You know, meaning like I don't eat breakfast. Breakfast is not a thing that I do. I do eat at least twice a day, and I usually like, you know, very, you know, like larger meals, you know what I mean? Twice a day. And generally each meal is probably about 800 to 900 calories, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's 1,000. So I eat right around 2,000 calories, you know what I mean? Right around that. Sometimes not, you know, sometimes I'm at 15. And to make that make sense for people, when I started, I was 319 pounds, and my actual allowance was like 3,700 calories when I first started, right? It was like 3,700 calories, a 319 pound person. So you can only imagine now that I'm eating shy of 2,000, that is actually, you know what I mean, really good, you know. But this is why I ain't lost no whole bunch of muscle or nothing like that, and I get so much, you know, protein, you know what I mean? Like because I eat a lot of meat, you know what I mean? I eat a lot of meat, chicken, steak, you know, fish, shrimp, lobster, you know, crab, you name it, you know what I mean? That's kind of like what I eat, you know what I mean? So I'm not lacking any protein at all. So there's that. So you know, obviously I always talk about, you know, what it is that I've seen throughout the community, you know what I mean? That's another thing that I like to, like, you know, talk about within a week when I get on at the end of the week. And I've seen a lot of, you know, different praise for a lot of people, you know, hitting their goals and stuff like that. So I really, you know, am excited about where we are with the journeys. You know, a lot of people I started with, you know, you got a lot of people that are approaching that 100 pounds, you know what I mean, that they want to hit. You know, you got, I mean, I don't say a lot, but, you know, some people that had that kind of goal, you know, and you got some people that might be, you know, struggling, but I feel like, you know, if they keep going, they'll get past it. But right now I'm on year 2, right? This is my year 2. I'm at the start of year 2. I'm going to do a short this week too, probably around Thursday, because I think it'll be right close to my actual YouTube anniversary, like the first short that I did. So that's coming up. I'll match the date up. If it's a little bit later, I'll wait, because I kind of want to match it up with that date. So I'm actually going to go live and do a short and say, hey, this was, you know, me a year ago. And I'll probably put a picture up of what I looked like last March and what I look like today. You know, what a difference. What a difference. You know what I mean? From then to now. I think I was down, on my first short, I was down 32 pounds. When I did my first short, I was down 32 pounds. And I was only on week 9. So we've come a long way. Now I'm on week 60. So that was 51 weeks ago that I did that first YouTube short. And I had all the angst in the world, like, hey, you know, should I really do this? You know, do I really want to be, you know, jumping on YouTube talking about this? I mean, look at me now, right? I still don't got 1,000 followers or two, but I definitely got a few hundred, right? So if you step back and say, hey, is it worth it? It's worth it, because if I had 250 people in the room right now with me, that's like an elementary school auditorium, right? So I feel like it's still worth it. You know what I mean? I still have a good enough following. It's not the high school following, like a lot of the more prominent, the big 2,000 amphitheater, high school auditorium, but it's definitely an elementary school auditorium. That's where I'm at. And again, I like to always say I got the most important followers, and I do, because everybody that, most of the people that's in my subscribers are people that are pretty important in the community, and they actually are movers and shakers, and they got their own channels and stuff like that. So while I didn't pick up a lot of the others, I'm very grateful for the like I said, the quality over quantity, right? Because there's a lot of noise and a lot of bots and stuff, and those big, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people, you got 3,000 followers, but you only know 20 of them. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? There's only 20 of them that really frequent your channel, on a regular basis. So I'm blessed and I'm happy with the small channel that I have, and with, the family that I created with y'all. So, I feel like it's a blessing to have 250, last time I checked, it's about 250 subscribers. I mean, my daughter, my 7-year-old, she usually keeps up with that. She say, Dad, you gained 2, you lost 2, you gained 1. So she watches it on her tablet. She sees all of these videos. So she's keeping an eye out. So, but yeah, I feel like I'm blessed to have 250 people that actually show up here, maybe not on a Sunday to see me, but actually subscribe to my channel. I'm happy for like the 10 to 15 people I usually get in the chat. Well, you watch. When we get to about an hour and I'm closing out, the next like 20 minutes, what'll happen is I'll end up with, 10, 15 people in here that, showed up at the last minute and I summarize for them. So that's usually what happens over here. But yeah, I'm just grateful for everybody that keeps coming and checking me out every Sunday evening. That's why I try to make sure I stay true to my word and show up here for y'all, no matter how much I got going on, because it's a lot, you know what I mean? Having, different, doing my other business, my regular, business and family, and, working on your own health, and showing up here and talking to everybody, going to everybody's, I try to go to as many lives as I can, and support and comment and talk to people in the comments and give them my opinion. And I know a lot of people, they usually say, oh, I know you're going to say, do this or do that. So that's cool, because that means that you pay attention, and I like that. Even if you disagree with me, I still like that y'all pay attention to what it is that I'm saying, and for good reason, because like I said, anything that I'm on here telling y'all is something that I would have my wife or somebody I care about do the same, because I feel like it's the best thing for them. I'm not ever going to tell somebody to do something that I wouldn't have my own family do, right? Hey, Sydney's Place, how are you? Good evening, good evening. But I would never tell someone to do something I wouldn't have my wife do. That's why I like to get on here and give y'all the quick clips and the highlights of her. She did, we did talk about when the next time we're going to bring her on. So we'll probably bring her on, like, maybe in like May or something like that. Like, I like it to be a couple months so you can see like a dramatic, because it's pretty dramatic when you wait a couple of months, so we have a lot to report. And I think we will. As the summer kicks up and it gets a little bit warmer, we'll have a really some good stuff to report. I mean, she's already doing amazing, being down 34 pounds in just 6 months, and 17% loss, on Zepbound 10 milligram. So I think that's amazing. And her body fat percentage came down a few points, so that's good too. Yes, that's good too. She's lost maybe like 2% of the body fat that she started with in that, which is good, because again, like I told you, I lost about 11-12% of my body fat, and that was after losing over 90 pounds. So her, in the 34 pounds she lost about 2%. So I feel like she's on that same trajectory where, she should still lose a decent amount of that body fat percentage, which becomes important, because again, like I said, or like I was going into, is year 2, right? This is year 2 for me. So what are my goals in year 2, right? Because that's prominent. Year 2 probably should look different than year 1. So mine is about like my body fat percentage, and just getting off the last little bit of weight that I want to, and staying there, right? And I feel like I got a good plan, because what people shouldn't do is get to that point where you are unsustainable, right? You don't want to be unsustainable. You don't want your weight loss goal to be, body fat percentage to be so far down that it's unsustainable and you're uncomfortable. right? Because you're supposed to be able to do what we're doing comfortably, right? You want to be comfortably at a weight that you can maintain. And when I mean comfortable, I don't mean lazy, right? So don't confuse comfort with laziness, right? What I'm saying is you want to be somewhere doing something you can do from forever, right? Because it gets pretty boring once you actually lose 100 pounds, right? You know, because I'm almost there. You know, when you get to 100 pounds, you know, you know, the hooray goes away. Now, hoorah, I'm thinking about, you know, the war in Marines. Hooray kind of like quiets down, right? But how can you stay there, right? So you don't want to get yourself to such a low weight that it's hard for you to stay at that weight, right? Because I know a lot of people have aspirations to be at a 23 BMI, and you know, and for some people that might have them at 120 pounds, 120 something pounds. But being someone that was 200 pounds, do you really honestly think that you could sustain as a 40-something year old, 40-something, 50-year-old male or female, sustain that kind of weight, that kind of, you know, that level of weight as you get older? Probably not, because what it takes for you to get there. What is your final weight loss goal, G? 199, 199, Sydney. 199. That's my final goal. That's 25 pounds from here. 25 pounds. But I'll be happy at 210. I'll be ecstatic at 210. And I'll just stay there and won't say nothing else. But because I'm 224. I'm 224 right now. So if I can get there, you know, which that means I only gotta lose like 14 pounds to do that. But if I get to the 199, that's one. Get on out of here, Darren. But he's starting at 185 again. Oh man. Hey, look, a lot of the guys that's six foot, like my height, and then get to 180 and they actually complain about being a little bit too small. They don't want to be that small. And I know for me, that wouldn't be a thing for me. I think 200 pounds is like my bottom out. You know, I don't want to be much smaller than that. You know, 20 some odd pounds. Like I told you, I wear a size 36 now, and that's a little loose. So if I was 185, I might be in 28s. I might have to go to the teenage section to get my pants. You know what I mean? So no, I'm not looking for that. And again, the lowest weight is not what we're looking at. We got to look at body fat percentage now. Body fat percentage is what you're looking at, not your lowest weight. Because, you know, you can keep going low, and if your body fat percentage ain't, you know, going with, you know, so you definitely want to make sure that you're looking at that. You know, once you go through, I say year 2 for a lot of people turns into that. You know, what body fat percentage are you and how far are you trying to go, right? Is your foot totally healed now, G? You know the crazy thing about that, Sydney? I don't think I'll ever be totally healed. I'll never use the word totally, but I will say that it is progressing nicely. My surgeon said that it would take 1 full year for it to get as far as it's going to go, if that makes sense for most people. But I just have like what they call zingers. Every now and then you get like these little zingers in it, like shooting pains, I would say. So, and this is why like a lot of people that talk about the different side effects with the medication, I was talking about it last week, and I was trying to tell them, I have so much pain. I mean, and I don't want to downplay nobody's pain, but the osteo pain is like nothing else, man. You know what I mean? Like when you get pain in the bones and stuff, it ain't like nothing else. So it's like having a muscle cramp that won't quit, right? So and then you working through all of that, you know. So when people talk about, you know, the dysesthesia and the you know the different pains that they feeling on the side, it's like that's like not a big deal to me. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So but yeah, as far as the foot is concerned, that's going to take, you know, like I said, about a year to heal completely. But I do have foot issue in my other foot near my ankle. That I have arthritis there too. That they said they will wait until next year, 27, to probably operate on that, because I want to go 26 without any surgery. But I am going to still get back to my walking no matter what, because I think that is what's going to let me lose that next 20 pounds that I want to get off. Or that final, I'm talking about next, the final 20 pounds that I want to actually get off. You know what I mean? Because 120 pounds was my absolute, you know, goal, which would put me at 199, you know, and I've lost 96 pounds to date, right? So 120 pounds would actually, you know, like I said, put me right there at what it is that we're talking about, you know, which is 24 pounds. So, you know, but that's it. That's the final goal. But again, I'm looking at the body fat percentage and not so much, not just the scale, right? Because if you talk about waist circumference, that matters. Because we talked about BMI. Has the GLP-1 help either? Yes, that's another good question, Sydney. Sydney, you got the best questions. At least I'm getting good questions now. Appreciate that, Sydney. That's a very good question. Yes, it has, because my left foot, that I did mention, the toe, because remember I had osteoarthritis in both toes. I haven't had any real pain in my left toe. The right toe was worse, and that was the one I got operated on first. The left toe, I also had the same pain, but it was just a little less bad. It wasn't as bad. So that toe, I really haven't had any pain. Now, I will say I haven't walked as much since my surgery. So we'll see when I start walking if I gain some of that pain, right? We'll see. You know what I mean? But I think the GLP-1 has helped a lot, because it hasn't. And the reason why I know GLP-1 does help is because I used to have like cracking in my knees. My knees used to crack. They don't. So the GLP-1 does help, So these are the other benefits. A lot of people worry about the titration, but these are the other benefits you get at titrating up. You know what I mean? I really want people to stop looking at titrating up as a negative. It's not a negative. It's actually a positive with benefits depending on your ailments, right? Depending on where you are. If you're diabetic, right? If you have different osteoarthritis that they're seeing with retatrutide, which is in essence similar, because it's a lot of GIP. This is Zepbound is a whole lot of GIP, right? A whole lot of GIP. That's what it is, right? You got a little bit of GLP and a whole lot of GIP. Retatrutide is almost no GLP. A very good deal of GIP, and a good deal of glucagon, So that synergy, you know what I mean? Because everyone is different. Because when you started with Wegovy, right, or Ozempic, that's a whole lot of GLP. That's all it is, right? Which is why they have all of those side effects, and the gastro, issues. The Zepbound is more GIP than anything, you know what I mean, and a little bit of the GLP, right? And then the retatrutide, which actually took care of the osteoarthritis, is a whole lot of GIP, which I'm getting on a 12.5 Zepbound, and some of that glucagon, right, which actually lowers the weight. So I'm actually getting that benefit. That was a good question. I'm getting that benefit because I have less arthritis, I feel like, in that foot. Now, I also had some gout. I should mention that too. I had some gout in that foot too. And he told me that when he actually to explain to people what happened is arthrodesis of the right big toe. That's the name of the surgery I had. So in essence, what they did is they cut my toe open, they spread it apart, they took all of the gout and the bone, right, that was bone on bone out, meaning shortened the big toe, and it'd probably be better to do this. So they cut the top, they slit the top, spread it open, and they cleaned it out, cleaned all the gout out, and then they took the toe that was long and made it shorter. So they made it shorter, and then they pretty much took a titanium plate, set it on top, right, and screwed it in. And they went to the bottom and screwed it in, right? So I have a titanium plate that keeps that toe still, so there's no more friction. Because where the osteoarthritis is no cartilage. So here you have no cartilage, right? And it will be bone on bone every time you walk, right? And that's creating spurs and all that stuff. So what they did was take this part where you had the nice fresh bone, the joint where the nice fresh bone was, cleaned all of the middle out, and they fused it together. So now it's like a brand new toe. That's kind of what they do. And now it takes about a year for that to really like heal 100%, right? So, and if that's too graphic for some people, I apologize. Maybe I should have said it first. But yeah, that's kind of what they did, right? But now with the walking that I'm about to get back into, we'll see. We will see, because I don't know what that looks like. But I'm going to do it because I would like to get the rest of the pounds off, because I think that'll help even more. Now, as far as medically, weight that actually has a medical effect that helps you, is to lose 5 to 7%. 7% is medically. Let me clean up my language. Meaningful weight loss is anywhere between 7 to 10% medically, right? That's what a lot of physicians would tell you. If you lose that, it helps you medically, right? And you get into the 15%, that's major, right? So to make it make sense, I've lost 30% bariatric surgery level weight. So not only did the GLP-1 help, but what also has helped is my losing that weight. So my knees and my toes and all of that has gotten better because it's less weight, And like I said, the medication, you know, so it is absolutely very, very, very helpful. You know, it's very, very helpful. So yeah, I would implore anybody that wants to get on, wants to titrate up to wherever you need to go to do it. Because a lot of people are saying like with the Retta, a lot of like, because you know you got the TikTokers, the gray market, and all of that. Um, well, I could begin walking anytime. I've been walking. But what I'm talking about is walking outdoors, like I was to lose my weight. That's what I mean. I walk all the time. I walk indoors all the time. But I mean like a specific pace, like outside. That's what I was doing before, you know, and that was just dropping weight off of me. So I want to get back to that, but the weather wasn't good. So, and I can't walk on the walking pads and the treadmills because of the friction on my toes. Like it's very painful. I can't the motion. I can walk naturally, but the motion of and the bouncing, you know, from a treadmill is detrimental to my feet. I can't do it. Outside, I'm fine. As you know, as crazy as that may sound for most, I'm fine, right? So yeah, so that's really the thing. I'm with the outdoor. I assume you meant walking for exercise. Yeah, walking for exercise outside. So that's the thing. I have an elliptical traveling techie. I don't like that either. I even got that one over there. My wife uses this stuff, but I'm going outside. You know what I'm saying? I like to do the workout videos. Like I do working out. I do work out with the workout videos, my resistance training. You know, I'll lift the free weights and then I go outside. That's what I do. I don't the treadmill and then the elliptical, that's no good for me. That's why I don't have a gym membership, because I wouldn't use the equipment. Because it's no good for me. It just doesn't, I'm an outside. I gotta go outside and walk, right? And what I mean by that is my main target right now is just my basically is my midsection, right? So I want to lose more body fat, right? So body fat percentage is lost by walking on an incline, right? So what I want to do is walk on an incline. So I'm going for walking on hills. So not long, but I'm just walking on the hill. So my plan is, and the good thing is, like where I live at, I have probably one of the steepest hills known to man. You know what I mean? So I don't have to walk long. I just have to walk with the appropriate pace and the appropriate incline, right? So that's what it is. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go out, because usually I walk about a mile. You know, it's about a mile and a half, you know, every day. So that's what I would do. I would do it every day, you know, just about every day, probably about 4 or 5 times a week. And that's enough for me, right? But it's walking with a purpose and on an incline. And that's my plan, to just do that, do the hills, right? So that's what actually drops that midsection, right? It's not, you know, obviously you lift weights, but dropping that midsection is really from that incline. And that's why I try to tell people, you can walk just flat-footed, you know what I'm saying, in general for long distance, right? But that's not necessarily tearing up that visceral fat. That's just tearing up everything, right? That's actually probably, you know, maybe for some people overdoing it, right? And have you, you know, kind of like losing weight everywhere. I'm not concerned with losing weight everywhere. I'm concerned with losing weight in my midsection. So my midsection, the way I would lose weight is by walking on an incline. So that's for anybody that wants to lose that spare tire. You walk on that incline. So there's that. But yeah, so that is you know, pretty much what has been up with me. That has, you know, pretty much what my week was. I usually try to keep this thing to about an hour, a little bit longer, and then I call it a day. Generally, call it a night, I should say. But I wanted to get in here, update y'all on my progress, my wife's progress. You know, like I said, she's doing amazing. Being down 34 pounds in just 6 months, losing 17% of her body weight on the 10 milligram of Zepbound. And, you know, we'll probably get on back in here in probably a couple months. You know, I like to give it a couple months. Like the first time she checked in, it was a little bit after her 5 month. So we'll check in again in another couple months and have, you know, some good progress, some more good progress. You know, like I said, she had a big 4 pound loss, you know, this week. So, you know, I did start out talking about the war. You know, I think that I'm praying for everybody. You know, some people increasing those. Oh, they're going off restart. I did talk to everybody about, you know, like the war and what I think about that. I think that it is definitely not what has happened so far is not the end of it, right? It's just the beginning. And I think that unfortunately, you know, having these, you know, individuals running the administration right now, we're going to suffer some tragedy, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, because of the way that they're actually, you know, moving. As far as plateaus, traveling techie, I would say, like I said, take the medication for at least a month. See how you do on it for a month. Go up only if you actually haven't lost weight in at least 1 full month, and you've been actually doing all that it is that you're supposed to be doing within your power, right? Yeah, never. I wouldn't go off or start over either. It just doesn't. I don't understand that at all. I think that's desperation. When people go off and start over, that's literally desperation for a result that you're never going to see, right? And never is a strong word, but I mean it. Like going off and then starting all over does nothing for you. It does nothing for you. I don't and you're putting yourself through if anything, titrate down. I'm okay with. I've always said okay. You can move around your dose, but to go off, what are you going off for? Going off and starting over to do what? You're probably not going to get the same result the next time. You know what I mean? Like it's probably gonna be a lot tougher. Because you've already been through it. Like, what did you do all of this for, man? I'm telling you, to do all the things that we do to get here, there's no point. I just think it's desperation. Because I know, like, there was a big deal about Dave, over there. And I know on Vandy's channel, she was talking about it, and people was, like, getting after her and everything. And it wasn't due to her giving her opinion, but other people gave their opinion. So, and that's why, I kind of just, I don't know. I stay away from the reviewing people channel. People do it, and I'm good with it. But I'm saying, me personally, I just try to talk about the science and my journey, and I do recap the week and what I see in general, but I try to stay away from names and who said what. But I feel safe talking about the prominent people like Dave. You know what I mean? I think with his journey, again, it's just my personal opinion. I think that he is very, very desperate for movement. You know what I mean? And I think that he's doing some things that might be, like with him, like he said, he gave up his all GLP-1s for Lent, he's going to actually tough it through just physical working out. But I don't understand that, because if the problem is with your biology, I'm not sure with you just not taking medication and just, I don't see that as resetting your body. If anything, I feel like that's just you can do two things at one time. You know what I'm saying? I think that he thinks that if he goes off, it's going to give him a total reset. But I don't think there is a reset. You know what I'm saying? There's no reset. Once you're on and your body gets used to the medication, you stay on it and you build on it. You build on it. You know what I mean? He did mention about him being, in a brain fog and all of that. But I'm not going into that. I did a whole brain fog thing on my last video. So if y'all want to hear that, y'all can go back into it. I don't want to go into that. You know what I mean? About the side effects. But I do think that, like I said, I think he should just went to a lower dose if he felt like it. 7.5, go to your 7.5. If you want 15 in this bothering you, cut it in half, go to 7.5. Most likely, because it's still therapeutic, and see if it cuts down on the brain and you can survive the food noise and all that. But going off for 40 days and just working out, at least I think that's what you said you did before you started. I know I did. See, that's why I said we can't speak for everybody, because some people didn't, and maybe they could be in a different position. But we do know he is a diabetic. That's one thing we can't argue. He can't argue. He's a diabetic. So you can go moving around all you want, as fast as you want. As you can gyrate, move around, shake, bend, stoop, back and forth, do all that. You can do all this. But you ain't gonna burn enough to where, it's gonna satisfy the disease that's in your body. You have disease in your body that you can't satisfy with just moving around. Moving around is a part of it. It's not the cure of it. It doesn't, you know what I mean? You need everything. That's what I'm saying. You throw everything at when you're in a war, you throw everything at it. Then it's let's see. Do it yourself. Yeah, so that's the thing, man. When you're in a war, you just do everything. You throw the whole kitchen sink at it. You know what I mean? And that's what I would do. I would just throw the whole kitchen sink at it. So I understand him trying something, but I don't think it's ever to stop taking your medication. And you know why? Because even he himself has used in defense of GLP-1s, have used the analogies that we draw when we talk about blood pressure and other diseases. Do we stop taking that? If you have hypertension, you don't come off of it until the hypertension is controlled, right? So him coming off of his treatments when he suffers from obesity and diabetes, I don't think moving around, even briskly, even erratic, is not going to do anything for his disease. It's not going to do nothing. You know what I mean? Like, he's just going to start at square one all over again. So I think he should have stayed on his medicine, cut it down some, and kept on working. And just kept on working. One thing you never do is quit. So here over on G's 101 channel, G's one of one, we don't quit. That's one thing we don't do. We don't quit anything. I'm not ever quitting nothing. We're gonna keep on fighting, right? Because winners never quit, right? And quitters never win. Because that's the smart, the most genius thing you can do is be consistent on your GLP-1 journey. Be consistent and just keep going and keep going and keep going. And the genius thing you can do is never quit. But if you ever quit, and like you said, he's not quitting forever. He's going to go back on the GLP-1, but I don't think he should quit at all. Don't quit your GLP-1. Stay on your GLP-1 because it's doing what it's supposed to do. And if it's giving you the brain fog, come all the way down to 7.5 if you need to, and then try the other things that you're talking about. I don't think the other things are necessarily going to probably do much unless he didn't do it before. See, that's what I'm saying. A lot of times we're giving opinions without all the information. I give you guys all my information, the truth, the 110% unfiltered truth. But a lot of people don't. They don't tell you that they never worked out. They don't tell you that they were drinking, because that was another thing. I know he was, drinking and stuff like that. So that also can cause problems within his body. You know what I mean? So he has issues internally that's fighting against him. I've never been one to drink or smoke, and I worked out diligently, and I've had trainers. So when I tell you I did it all, I did it all. I'm a little bit older than him. I'm 45, but I've done it all. So I feel very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Not vindicated, but I feel like I'm doing exactly what I should be, and that's being on Zepbound 12.5. I'm on the dose that I belong on because that actually is taking care of my actual food noise. And I'm not on here, really trying to actually, I wouldn't be proving anything to anybody by suffering through food noise just to say I did it, right? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take what it is that's necessary because it's available. And I'm not just reliant on the medication. So there's that, and I am going to sign out of here. I just wanted to, like I said, jump in and holler at y'all. Like I said, like I was going to end the video, I was praying for everybody that is actually in the midst of gunfire and missiles because, there are children that lost their lives, and I think we all should pretty much say a prayer and keep those people in our prayers because that is nothing to play with. You see what they did, with Pakistan, and not Pakistan, with Israel. What Israel did, with the kids over in Pakistan, and I think that was, an injustice. And I really think that, this war is going to get really ugly, So let me shoot in the comments real quick. Make sure I ain't missed nothing before I get out of here. I'm saying I'm getting out of here without checking. I'm pretty sure I didn't, but I just go shoot back real quick through them. Yeah, so I did. I went through all of the comments. So we are just getting ready for our colonoscopy. My colonoscopy is coming up on the 13th, so I'll be taking one more shot on next Wednesday, and then I'll be stopping. I did move my shot back to Thursday this week, and I'll move it to Wednesday next week, and then I will be actually. Well, I'm not stopping. I'm never stopping. So I'll be without a shot for 8 days. Well, actually 9 days technically, because my colonoscopy will be that following Friday. So I have a heart ultrasound this coming Thursday, I believe. Yeah, Thursday morning, and then I have my colonoscopy the Friday after that. So those were the final two things that I needed to get done for the total health. My total health markers. So everything I would clear everything. So I'm going to do that. That is, like I said, within the plan. This is the beginning of March, and I have a plan to try to lose 5 pounds in the month of March, through actually being active and being out and going back to the walking that I was doing, because that's going to take me out of obesity. I'll be at 218 pounds, and losing, my BMI would be under 30, and that would take me out of obesity, because right now my BMI is 30.3. So those are my plans. We're in year 2, and that's kind of like what I'm looking forward to doing. So I just wanted to say I appreciate everybody for actually tuning in tonight, coming down, and locking in with me on Sunday evenings like you always do. We did it a little bit earlier this week because I want to get off a little bit sooner so I can go eat and watch. I have a game coming at 8 o'clock. Coming on at 8 o'clock. But I actually, like I said, keep my word, wanted to come in and holler at y'all, and I did that. So, that's it. Obesity Warriors, we're in it together. So, Obesity Warriors, stand up. Later. Have a good night, y'all.